Hi everyone, and this is my effort, the fifth time I'll tell you right now, of stuff and things number 2. And tonight I'm going to talk about genetics, my latest topic of thought on my morning rides. And I'm thinking about genetics because it's one of the topics I'm currently teaching at school in NCA Level 1, and there is a lot of terminology which I believe is changing, and I believe older teachers, such as myself, need to kind of get a bit more educated about and make sure that we are using the correct terminology in an effort to be inclusive for all of our students. I definitely know that I was not particularly good at this, and I have made a very concerted effort to improve. I will make mistakes and I will accept some feedback on that as long as it is well-intentioned and polite feedback. And I know I will miss some out. I'm just going to talk about some of the main ideas. I am going to use some models to help me show my ideas. These models are Lego models, and if I have chosen offensive Lego, I apologise for that as well. So I'm going to talk about 4 continuum. I don't know what the plural of continuum is, so I'm just going to say continuum. My first one is sexual orientation. So sexual orientation is simply who we like or are attracted to. And on one end of our sexual orientation continuum are those individuals who are attracted to the same biological sex or gender that they are, homosexuals, and on the other end of the continuum those individuals who are attracted to individuals of the opposite biological sex or gender, i.e. heterosexuals. And of course this is a continuum, meaning that people exist all the way along from one end to the other, and in an effort to show one of these possibilities, I cannot show all of them. One of our more well-known possibilities are those individuals who have attractions to both biological sex or genders, and these people are commonly known as bisexual individuals. So that is sexual orientation, which we don't talk about an awful lot of in genetics. You might see that a little bit more in health class. So the second continuum I am going to talk about is probably the one that we should be talking about most commonly in genetics, which is your biological sex. So here's my continuum for biological sex. So this is the biology that you are born with. It is your measurable characteristics, and generally these are quite objective. So at this end of the continuum, we have individuals with 2 X chromosomes. So these individuals have female biological characteristics. And by this I mean ovaries, vagina, breasts, and the hormones commonly associated with female biology. And at this end we have XY, which is our individuals with male characteristics, penis, testes, male hormones, etc., etc. And we have a wide variety along this continuum of individuals with who aren't clearly at one end or other of the spectrum of the continuum, and these individuals are sometimes referred to as intersex. Please note, I believe hermaphrodite is an old-fashioned term that is not nice to be used in the modern world. So intersex, and one of the common examples of intersex is someone with 3 chromosomes, 2 X's and a Y, which is relatively common. There are many places you can go to find out how common these individuals are. So that is our biological sex. Now, some of our issues in teaching often arise from the fact that we don't want to use the word sex at this case, especially if we're teaching younger students, and so we tend to swap in the word gender. But that is probably not what we should be doing. Well, not probably, definitely. My next continuum is my, if I've got the right one here, my gender identity continuum. So your gender identity. So this is how you feel about your gender. So at this end of the spectrum are those individuals whose body chemistry makes them identify as a female. And at this end of this continuum are those whose chemistry, could be hormones or anything else in their body, makes them identify as male. So this is our gender identity. So it is commonly now thought that your gender identity is formed by the age of 3, but this is a way that you feel about yourself and how you perceive yourself. So this is not something that we should assign to a person before their birth. And of course, this is not related to or not governed by your biological sex, but it is worth noting that if you are born biologically female and you identify yourself as female, this is known as cisgender. Cis meaning that you identify as the same gender that you are biologically born as. However, if you were born as a female biologically, but you identify as a male, then that is what is known as transgender. And most of us have heard of this term transgender. So a transgender person identifies as the gender that is not the same as the one they were biologically born with. So that is where the term gender comes in, and also why it is not okay to substitute the word gender for the sex, the biological sex of a person. There is one more continuum that I would like to go through, and the last continuum I would like to look at is the one called gender expression. And this continuum here is all about how you show the way that you are feeling. What do you do? How do you behave? And this is often governed by traditional roles of female and male in society. So at this end of our spectrum here is a person who expresses themselves as a female, and we often call this feminine in terms of their expression. So they may dress up in traditional female clothes, or they may carry out traditional female behaviours or roles. And of course this is a societal construct. And over this side we've got the masculine. So we're talking about any gender, any biological sex expressing themselves as masculine. And in the middle we have those who express themselves in a way that we can't easily tell if they are masculine or feminine. And I think if you think about yourself in terms of your gender expression, that you will have an element of all of this continuum, depending on the activity that you're doing and the clothes that you're wearing, and just, I guess, your feeling at the time. So that is the end of my 4 continuum. So my take-home messages: if you're teaching genetics, you are talking about biological sex most of the time. The word gender is going to refer to either a way that you identify or feel about yourself, or a way that you express yourself. And the last one, your sexual orientation, is the way or who you choose to form relationships with. And this is where we use our homosexual, heterosexual, or other kinds of relationship terms. So here we have biologically male, biologically female, and the continuum of that. Here we have our masculine, feminine, or how we identify ourselves as male, female, and here we have our homosexual and heterosexual sexual orientation. I hope that has helped someone, and I hope I haven't got it too terribly wrong. And I would like to shout out today to my old students from 9 to 13 TBE at Nayland College. And I hope that you guys can have a look at this. And I know that a lot of you will. I think in that class we had a lot of people on a lot of areas of those continuum, and I am very proud of all of you and how well you've done.